6 of 7 required IEP parts stand on. 1 warm-up looking paragraph. Present levels. And buried in the services section of that same regulation is a line pointing back at this paragraph by name. Carry that with you. It decides whether your service minutes survive.
I'm Erica. Look at the address. 34 CFR 300.320, paragraph A1. First numbered item in the list, not a preface to it.
Episode 1 proved the contents of this document are fixed by federal regulation, not by a district's good intentions, which is why the first item carries the rest.
Fenrir here. Careful with the name though. Academic achievement and functional performance. 2 halves, both required.
Take a 4th grader who decodes on grade level and still can't start a 3-step assignment alone. Academic achievement says she's fine. Functional performance says she isn't. Write only the first half and you've described half a child, so every goal after it inherits that blind spot. 2 columns. Academic achievement is what she does with the content. Decoding, computation, comprehension. Functional performance is what she does with the day. Starting, organizing, asking for help.
Maria struggles with reading. That's the sentence I want on the table because that's where almost every present level section begins, and it's the one episode 1 promise we would take apart.
Wrong on its face. Struggles compared to what?
3 things fix that sentence, and they fix it inside one sentence. A baseline number. The data source that produced it. And what it costs her in involvement and progress in the general education curriculum.
That third piece isn't our preference. The regulation writes it out. How the child's disability affects the child's involvement and progress in the general education curriculum.
Read the actual print. A statement of the child's present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, including how the disability affects involvement and progress in the general education curriculum. That word does enormous work.
Preschool swaps that clause. Participation in appropriate activities. Same job, different words.
Take that swap seriously. A preschool team borrowing the general curriculum wording describes a curriculum the child isn't enrolled in yet. The regulation gave them their own sentence.
6 numbered parts come after present levels and everyone leans on it. Somebody in the studio chat has beaten me to my own next line, so I'll take it. What actually makes a present level statement defensible?
Defensible has a test, and it isn't tone. Could a stranger reading only this tell you what the child can do today, where that came from, and what it cost her in class? If not, you wrote a description.
Then a lot of what I read this year is description, and it survives a whole signature round because a vague opening still looks. Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it. Finished. A vague present level still looks finished, which is exactly why it survives, and 3 pieces are what turn a description into one. Professor Biliu is at the desk today to help take one apart.
Depends which vague you mean. A statement with no number is missing content. One with a number nobody can trace is missing a source. Only one of those is fixable at your desk tonight.
A baseline is 3 things in one coat. A number, a named task, a date. Take our composite Maria, and composite is the honest word. 41 words correct per minute, median of 3 timed grade level passages, 2nd week of September.
41 goes into the goal. No, wait, backwards. Present levels first. The goal is written out of it. Write the goal first and you're guessing at your own starting line.
Source next, because a number with no origin is a rumor. Which passages, whose norms, who held the timer?
The source isn't decoration. A number nobody can reproduce can't be argued in a meeting or defended after one. 1 adult and 1 student and 1 piece of work. Done the same way twice, that is a source.
Grain of salt, because this is a composite, not a case file. The line read that the student was reading below grade level based on classroom observation. No number, no passage, no date. Then the team wrote a goal to improve fluency to grade level. Safest sentence in the file. Safest, I mean, until somebody asks the obvious thing.
Improve from what?
Below grade level is a category, not a level, and the rule half of that story checks out. The regulation asks for present levels of performance, so a category can't be a
level. Half right though. The half matters. A level needn't be a standardized score. An honest observational count, recorded the same way twice, is a level. What dies is a section with nothing to measure against.
One question first. I know this cold, but you're putting it on a form, so don't take my word. Pull the section. It's the A1 clause. Read the word including.
Including how the child's disability affects involvement and progress in the general education curriculum. Including. That makes the effect clause part of the requirement.
Waiting room. Triage. Nobody treats you off how you look. The baseline is the vital sign. The source is the instrument. The effect is why you get admitted.
But triage sees you once. We watch this child all year, so your picture breaks. Nobody discharges her, and the number keeps getting taken.
Fair, plainly then. Write a number, name where it came from, say what it costs her in the general education class.
Put the two versions side by side. The distance between them is the whole episode.
Maria struggles with reading. That's the whole left side. No number, no source, no effect named. Now the right side. 41 words correct per minute. 3 timed grade level passages. Benchmark of 90. So she can't finish class text in the time given.
Same child. One version is checkable.
Effect is the piece people cut for space, and the piece the regulation spells out. I have strong opinions about steep times on tea, and a number with no consequence on it hasn't finished brewing.
Call it the so what sentence. Everything above it's a report card.
Guess before we show it. The phrase general education curriculum shows up inside the 7 numbered contents of 320. Over or under 2?
Under, 1. The present levels clause, and that's it.
3. Present levels, the goals clause, the services clause. 3 directions, 1 idea, which is a strange thing to do by accident.
You're right about the observational count, Professor Beaulieu. Concede it. The sharper question is what the count is for, because a number that never reaches the effect clause has no consequence. Strengths are required content. The team must consider the child's strengths first, so a present level that's only a deficit list is incommon.
Pleat. Also bleak. Nobody ever taught a whole to read.
Strengths are required content, and required is the operative word. Skip them and you have written a deficit list, which is the fastest way to lose a parent in a meeting.
One more thing I'm not answering yet. A federal rule governs where your baseline may come from, and it rules out the shortcut most people reach for first. Wait until you hear which one.
The question I keep circling is smaller. Where is a busy teacher supposed to get that number?
From work you already do, mostly. The regulation orders no new test, only that whatever you used can be named and repeated. A present level isn't a portrait. It's a measurement with a consequence.
A measurement with teeth.
Different problem. Not what to write, but where the number may come from.
The way the evaluation report usually gets, forget the report. I printed the section this morning, 4 pages, right here under my hand. Start with what you already hold.
Because the honest fear here's a new test, a new binder, and an evening you don't have. No single measure may be the sole criterion. That's the rule I held back a few minutes ago, and here's what it kills. 1 score alone, deciding both eligibility and program.
Then does that rule out using the fall screener at all?
Which use, though? Deciding she's a child with a disability, or describing where she sits today. 2 different answers.
Describing where she sits today.
Then use it. The rule bars 1 instrument alone as the sole criterion for eligibility and program, but not from being 1 named source. Both things are true, and team's been good data hearing only the first half.
But who wrote that rule? Not your district.
These rules live in Title 34 of the Code of Federal Regulations, published by the Department of Education in Washington. Your district owns the form, not the list of what goes on it.
This is my gym membership all over again. They measure everything except what I came in.
4. You've just described half of education.
4, yes, and that's exactly my complaint.
Okay, 2 exits past the topic and I let it happen. Back to the live rule. No single measure as the sole criterion, and a screener can still be one of your named sources. 4 required considerations before a word of this gets written. The strengths of the child. The concerns of the parents for enhancing their child's education. The results of the initial or most recent evaluation. The academic, developmental, and functional needs.
The parent concerns one is your lane, Cynthia. I would get the wording wrong.
It isn't a courtesy line. The regulation says the concerns of the parents for enhancing the education of their child. Enhancing. What they want more of, not only what frightens them, which changes what you write.
The existing data route is the one almost nobody uses. Work samples. Curriculum assessments you already give. October's observation. Information provided by the parent. All of it counts as
Stop. My point exactly. Erica, take the wording.
a variety of assessment tools and strategies to gather relevant functional and developmental and academic information about the child, including information provided by the parent, word for word. Nobody said buy anything.
And the fourth consideration is the academic, developmental, and functional
Performance.
needs, functional needs. Performance is the present level's wording. Needs is the considerations wording. One word apart, and I've watched it cost a team an afternoon.
The version a first-year teacher asks at 4 in the afternoon is smaller. Can you write present levels from data you already have?
Most of the time, yes. You aren't short of evidence. You're short of a sentence that names it.
Everything so far you control alone. Next, somebody else reads it back to you out loud 12 months from now.
Professor Boulieu back at the desk with us. 12 months from now, somebody opens this document and asks whether the goals were achieved. What does a vague present level do to that meeting?
It makes the question unanswerable, which is worse than answering badly. The team can't say the goal was met or missed, so the meeting defaults to whether the adults feel the year went well.
Which is a vibe, not a finding.
Look at what a goal is legally required to be. Measurable annual goals designed to meet the child's needs that result from the disability, to enable the child to be involved in and make progress in the general education curriculum. Enable. It's a bridge back to the access problem you named one section earlier, and if that section named none, it's a bridge to nowhere.
The section after the goals asks a question most teams answer in one word. How will progress toward that goal be measured?
Teacher observation, usually, not illegal, just unfalsifiable, and a measurement that can't fail isn't a measurement.
No baseline, no proof, in either direction.
Both directions is the part people miss. It doesn't only stop you proving growth. It stops you proving she didn't grow, and that's the finding that changes services.
Pull up the review section on the Department of Education's own site. Reviews the child's IEP periodically, but not less than annually. Not less than annually, 12 months maximum, then the team must determine whether the annual goals are being achieved. Under it sits the trigger nobody quotes. Revise to address any lack of expected progress toward the annual goals and in the general education curriculum.
Lack of expected progress. Expected against what number?
Against the vital sign you took in September, which is why the number was never paperwork. It's the only thing in the room that can disagree with you.
Sit with that one. Draw the shape of the document and it stops being an argument. Present levels at the top. Goals hang off it. Progress measured hangs off the goals. Services come off the same route, and so does the LRE explanation. Assessment decisions and the dates and minutes hang off it too. 6 numbered parts, 1 route.
Watch what these two educators are leaning toward, not a narrative. A row per goal, and a bar that either moves or it doesn't.
Every bar there started as a number somebody wrote down once. No number, no bar.
Watch how fast they read it. Nobody argues about whether the year felt productive, because the row already answered it. Take the number out, and that conversation turns back into opinions, which is what an annual review exists to replace.
The part that changed how I write these is the reporting clause. It asks when the periodic reports go home and names the pattern, quarterly or concurrent with the issuance of report cards. So 4 times a year, a parent gets a written progress statement, and if nobody wrote the starting number, that statement is a guess on letterhead.
Okay, that changes my answer. I've been calling that paragraph the soft one.
It's the load-bearing one. 4 reports a year, each measured against a sentence written before any of them existed.
Professor Boulieu, thank you. The sharpest thing you gave us was that a statement with no number is missing content, not polish.
He also let me lose an argument in public. I like being proven wrong well, and that was well.
You lost it well. Read the section twice and you'll lose the next one faster.
12 months. Everyone measured against a sentence written back in September. Fenrir, one line. If you rewrite one present level before Friday and nothing else, which line do you fix?
The verb, kill struggles, because it promises a comparison it never makes. Put a number where it stood.
Name the task, the number, the date. Not reading, but oral reading of grade level text. Not low, but 41 words correct per minute. Not this fall, but the second week of September.
The thing most people get wrong about the source is actually start earlier. Most never write one at all. Getting it wrong isn't the failure mode. Leaving it blank is.
Name the source in the same sentence, not a footnote. Same sentence.
Read me the actual line, Erica, not the summary.
A statement of the child's present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, including how the child's disability affects the child's involvement and progress in the general education curriculum. That's the whole requirement.
Then add what Fenrir called the so what sentence. What it cost her in the general education class. The rest of the document reaches for that clause and is the first one cut when the box looks full.
6 moves, in order. None of them need a new assessment. Name the exact task. Write the number and the date. Name where it came from. State the effect on the general education class. Add one strength in performance terms. Then read it back as a stranger who never met the child.
6 moves, none of them a purchase order. I'm listening.
The line I told you to carry sits in the services section 4 words long, in accordance with paragraph A1. The services and the aids and the supports and the minutes, all of it must enable progress in the general education curriculum in accordance with what you wrote. True for almost every teacher watching, almost. One group it makes harder inherited a whole caseload of these back in
August, which are signed, so I just fixed the wording myself.
in August. And no, you don't. You never quietly rewrite an active IEP alone. Signed and in effect means you can't open it on a Tuesday and improve the wording.
So I sit on a section I know is useless, plain words.
In plain words, no. You start taking the baseline today so the team has a real number, and you raise it at the review. Changing the document is the team's move. Producing the evidence is yours.
I'd push back on the order there. There's a real case for going the other way, and it isn't weak. Waiting for the annual review can cost a child a year of the wrong service.
Fenrir's right about the cost of waiting. So here's what I'd actually do. Merely gather your data and bring it to the annual review. Child visibly getting the wrong service? Request a meeting now, in writing. Either way, you don't touch the document alone because rewriting quietly at your desk takes the review away from the parents. And if you're half listening in a car line right now, remember one thing from today, 41. Not because 41 matters, but because a number is the difference between a description and a present level. Nobody is born knowing that.
Yeah. And the second is the phrase, involvement and progress in the general education curriculum. Say it in those words and the rest of the document has something to cite. Send this to whoever inherits your caseload next August.
One number, one clause. Everything else is style, and that's the line I'd keep if I lost the rest of this video.
Next time we build the goal out of this exact statement. 5 parts a compliant annual goal must carry. And why one written without your baseline can't be measured, can't be reported, or survive that 12-month question.
If this made one section on your desk easier to defend, hit like and subscribe. We're walking the whole document part by part, so the so what sentence. In the present levels you have to rewrite this week, what does that number actually cost the child? Go take one number this week. I'll see you at the goals.